Hello and back again for the second part of the session of WTCF and COTRI at the ITB Berlin Now. We just heard the keynote from Philip Dodd from Made in China UK, and now we start our panel, and it's my great pleasure to have a group of experts and participants representing famous companies and having a lot of experience in this field. And I will ask them one by one to introduce themselves and to give us a very brief introduction about their company, and then to answer the key question I think we all are looking for answers is what will change and what should change in urban tourism in the hopefully soon post-pandemic times. And after that, we will see that we can have some discussion among us. And I will do this in alphabetical order. So I will start with Mr. Bowen Sun, who is the Vice Secretary General of Tripcom Institute. Bowen, thank you very much for joining us. So
Hi.
Please give us your thoughts.
Hi. Thank you, Professor. And my name is Bowen Sun, and I work for Trip.com Group. And actually, now I are in charge of the Trip.com Institute, which is part of the Trip.com Group. It's more like a research center that like to do some research for the culture and the tourism industry. And I will introduce the Trip.com Group first. The Trip.com Group actually is a leading one-stop travel service provider. I think almost most of people have heard of that. And it operates several platforms, actually, is Trip.com Group, Trip.com, Ctrip, Skyscanner, and China. Trip.com Group actually is very optimistic about the future of travel and is working with partners to bring on the revitalization of global travel. We enable local partners and travelers around the world to make informed and cost-effective bookings for travel products and services. We were founded in 1999 and listed on NASDAQ in 2003. Our mission is very simple: make every trip the perfect trip. We have 43 plus local sites and apps in over 33 regions and countries around providing travel services and support to customers in 21 languages. Our platforms host hundreds of millions of members and travel products. Trip.com, for example, currently have 400 million members and offers over 1.4 million hotels in 200 countries and regions, and 2 million plus routes to 5,000 cities around the world. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, we have used the innovation to meet challenges we pushed on with our digital transformation to ensure we were engaged with our customers and able to tailor travel products to their needs, thereby strengthening trust and confidence in travel. At Trip.com Group, we have made sure we were there to support industry partners throughout this difficult time. Our Travel On initiative saw us invest hundreds of millions of dollars into industry partners through direct investment, subsidies, and discounts on travel products to generate much needed cash flow. People choose Trip.com Group platforms because we've got everything covered: flights, hotels, and attractions. We are a one-stop shop for all your travel needs. Every day, we seek to realize our company mission to make every trip the perfect trip. We will strive to help those all around the world booking their next trips, domestic and international, as that become possible. Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's move on. The next person I would like to give us an introduction is Jason Wang, who is the COO of Global Tourism Economic Forum based in Macau. And Jason, while you're at the place which is the only destination outbound Chinese tourists are visiting in big numbers, so you had like 2 million arrivals from China in the second half of last year, because you can visit Macau and go back to China without quarantine. necessities. So you are in a very good position to see the future of Chinese outbound tourism post-pandemic, because in Macau it already has started. So please give us an introduction about yourself, what you're doing in your organization, and how you see positive steps for the future.
Thank you, Professor. It's an honor to join the panel today. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the World Tourism Cities Federation for the invitation to join the panel. My name is Jason Wang. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Global Tourism Economy Forum. The forum is an international forum established in 2012, and we are based in Macau. It's an annual event which keeps tourism economy and sustainability in mind. The forum has a mandate to link China with the world. Macau indeed is the first and only destination open to the Chinese outbound tourists. And it only happened last year. And it's very good news to Macau for sure. But as you should understand, it did not come easy. Macau closed its border actually back in February 2020. But they only started to open the border to the neighbor province Guangdong last August, and only opened the border to all the rest of the Chinese provinces last September. So we need to understand, before the Macau can open its border, it actually went through a very challenging period. And that period was actually a very stable period for Macau in terms of hygiene, because that's the period without a single case of COVID for more than 200 days. So without understanding how well Macau performed on the fight against COVID, there's no way that we can understand how Macau can reconnect with mainland China today. Macau actually did a great job to save and revive the tourism sector. Let me give you some examples. For the small vendors shops, they are subsidized by the government. For the major players, like the whole hotel groups in Macau, they're requested to keep their employees. And before the opening of the border, Macau actually started a program and designed various products aiming for the locals to rediscover Macau, which was surprisingly quite successful. Even the Macau government did not expect that so many locals would be interested. And for the mainland Chinese, they started long ago, long before the border opened. So before the opening of the border, in collaboration with some of the major Chinese online tourism OTAs, the hotels in Macau are actually selling products already with very competitive prices. And as I mentioned before, now streaming marketing became a daily tool for Macau to promote its tourism products to the Chinese.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Yes, of course, I've been participating in your forum several times, and we all miss the physical meeting in such a wonderful place as Macau. And hopefully later this year, we can come together again, not only on the Zoom, but in the flesh. Okay, let's move on. It's my big pleasure to invite Mr. Kong Xiu, the CEO of AirB&B China. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. And so the floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor. Hi, everyone. My name is Hong Xiu. As Prof said, I'm the Chief Operating Officer for AirB&B China. It's my great honor to participate in ITB Berlin this year and to meet everyone virtually. I've been with AirB&B for over 8 years now. I joined the company in 2012 as the APAC General Counsel. I transitioned to the business in 2017 when I became the Regional Director for the Asia Pacific region. And more recently, I became the COO for China. And China has always held a special place in my heart. It's a very critical part of the AirB&B community and of our global network. And as the China COO today, I manage our China business across product, operations, marketing, and so on. And I think most of you are familiar with AirB&B, but allow me to share a little bit more about our progress over the years. We started with one listing in San Francisco with 2 hosts who are our founders, who welcomed 3 guests back in 2007. And today, We have 4 million hosts and 5.6 million active listings across 220 countries and regions. And this global network with this large community of very engaged hosts is truly unique to Airbnb. And Airbnb is fundamentally premised on 3 ideas. Our community is based on connection and belonging. Our creativity allows us to imagine new possibilities for people. And we have responsibilities to all of our stakeholders. And in 2020, we celebrated the 5th anniversary of our entry into the China market. So we haven't been in China for that long. We aim to provide authentic and high quality travel experiences around the world for Chinese millennial and post-millennial travelers. We have been and will continue to focus on better serving Chinese travelers through product localization and innovation, helping them feel connected as they travel around the world and in China, and nurturing a strong local community.
Okay, wow. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, of course, we're all aware of this impressive growth. And when you talk about 220 countries and destinations, well, that's about all there are on this planet. So I'm afraid you can't have an Airbnb on Antarctica, but that's probably not the only place.
Believe you me, we've talked about that. And so
you're
actually,
you're working on it. Okay.
A couple of years ago, we actually had something called the Antarctica sabbatical, I think, where people were able to travel to Antarctica and do research as part of a research station there. So we've been trying.
Okay, we look forward to that. Okay, so finally, let's go to Europe, to Valencia, and welcoming Olivier Ponti, who is the Vice President for Insights of Forward Keys. And Insights is exactly, Olivier, what we are looking for. Please.
Hi everybody. Thank you, Wolfgang, for having me here. So just really a couple of words about Forward Keys. We're a travel analytics company. We're based in Valencia, Spain. And what we do is use big data to help our clients across the whole travel ecosystem anticipate future trends. So what are those trends? How could we answer that question that you mentioned earlier? Are we in a better place post-COVID than we were before? Personally, I strongly believe that urban tourism could be in a better place than in pre-COVID times once we get out of this pandemic. And there are 3 main reasons for this. The first one is that to adapt to the current crisis, many travel companies and DMOs have had to finally embrace and rely on big data. And that was a logical step, but it's one that we've been waiting for ages. And with shorter lead times, travel corridors that kept changing at short notice, the businesses that fared the best were the ones equipped with the most relevant data. Urban destinations have realized that traditional backward-looking statistics were not of much use, especially when what is needed are tactical campaigns that are forward-looking. And that pushed DMOs across the world to reorganize so they could be much faster when implementing campaigns and much more efficient in their use of their marketing budget. I was talking to one of our clients the other day, the Maldives. Okay, so it's not in Europe, but bear with me, as I think the example is relevant. They were telling me that they completely changed their initial strategy regarding the Russian market. And thanks to this last-minute shift, they managed to achieve growth while their competitors are still behind. And I believe these organizational changes and this data-led decision-making are here to stay, and that's a good thing. The second reason for being optimistic is that European urban destinations have been pushed to provide an enhanced and improved experience to their visitors. Take shopping, for example. Worldwide, one of the destinations that really picked up over the past few months is Hainan, so a holiday destination in the South China Sea. And now it's a duty-free shopping mecca. Now, Hainan has strongly benefited from the rebound of Chinese domestic travel. And many Chinese shoppers have discovered that they didn't need to travel to the other end of the world to buy products from high-end European brands at a competitive price. And what this means for European cities is that they have to be more creative than ever to provide a unique experience to Chinese travelers when intercontinental travel resumes. Urban centers will also need to have strong protocols in place to make sure that they are perceived as safe. And the good news is that some of these protocols are tackling issues that the travel sector has been struggling with for years. Think of overcrowded key attractions. Now, this has been solved in many places by limiting the number of visitors and forcing people to book in advance. And I think that ultimately these measures provide a better experience to travelers and to the people living in the cities too. And the last point I'd like to stress briefly is the need for DMOs to improve air connectivity, especially with Asia. If European cities want to attract East Asian visitors, they need to be easy to reach. And COVID has shattered most existing networks. Let's face it, more airlines will go down and routes will disappear. And I believe DMOs have a key role to play to make sure their destination remains accessible. And this means thinking in creative ways about how they could find new models of collaboration with airlines, hubs, and other destinations. So in truth, I think this crisis could eventually put DMOs in a stronger position. They have a renewed agenda, they've become more data equipped, and they can see the big picture more clearly. So not only is this a time for reinvention, but a change for a better experience for travelers and the local communities living in these urban centers in Europe. So yeah, let's make it happen.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I think this is very good points you made, and also a very good starting point for our discussion. And so I'm the CEO of COTRI, China Outbound Tourism Research Institute, and we have developed a program which is called Advantage Tourism, and to help destinations to restart in a better way. They're dealing with the Chinese market, and we, exactly like you have been saying, Olivier, so we also have been concentrating on 2 points. One is improve quality, so especially for the specific needs of different customers, in that case Chinese visitors, and digitalization, and these also are the 2 points you have been mentioning, plus of course connectivity, that you have to strive to be reachable in as comfortable and easy as possible a way. So maybe let's take these 2 aspects, improvement of quality and better use of big data and better use of digitalization, which of course also includes mobile payment systems and mini programs and all the nice new technological opportunities we have, beside of course of better forecasting based on big data. So maybe I can go back to Bowen, and so from these 2 aspects, quality, improve quality for Chinese visitors outside of China, and digitalization, where do you see activities of Trip.com you can share with us?
Yes. I believe that both Professor Wolfgang and Mr. Oliver has shared the same comments as I'm about to share. In recent years, the China has become the 2nd largest source of tourists to Europe. Trip.com group data shows that European bookings by Chinese travelers on Trip.com group apps has increased YOY from 2015 to 2019, with an annual growth rate of more than 30%. Trip.com group, as a leading global travel service provider, has continually utilized digital ways to support the development of tourism between Asia and Europe, specifically between China and the top European destinations. We both know that the COVID-19 has done more for digitalization than anything before. Digitalization is an important aspect in promoting better urban tourism in the post-pandemic era, especially for those distant countries. The investment in digital infrastructure and the online migration of services across industries will define the recovery and be the legacy of the pandemic. COVID-19 was a catalyst for touchless technologies, which travelers now expect in order to minimize the physical contact with people and services. And Trip.com Group adopted a comprehensive contactless wraparound approach, building out online search and purchasing services to enhancing online customers services and self-service tools. Technologies such as our AI chat robot and RFID wristbands, smart tour guides, and smart reservation analysis enable seamless travel and better management of visitor flows, improving the traveler experience and making travel safer. We also pivoted our platform from solely transactional to providing content-based marketing, starting our live stream series, providing immersive product experience and keeping our users informed with the latest travel news and updates. From 23rd March to 28 October last year, Trip.com Group's live stream series generated more than USD 360 million in GMV and received more than 150 million global views. We list more than 10,000 scenic spots and cultural attractions all over the world. During COVID, we have utilized the live stream shows such as our Boss live shows that features and the Trip.com Group co-founder, the chairman, providing users an immersive insight into the hotels, in destinations, and the attractions, and so on. Chinese visitors are proven to be attracted by vivid product introduction and discount products. Leveraging content marketing can also reach out to more Chinese customers than before. Connect them with the thousands of tourist sites hosted on our platforms and attract them to purchase more tourism products. While the pandemic decimated the demand, we stressed supply chains also, investing in the travel ecosystems to ensure it could survive and adapt for the travel revival. Our Travel On initiative, which I also mentioned, consisted of direct investment in partners as well as our opening sales channels to generate much needed cash flow. We united the airlines and accommodation industrial partners to introduce new safety guidelines. We joined the call for greater health and safety measures, building customers' trust in travel, and to also we are working with government partners as well in the creation and adopting of innovative ways to facilitate cross-boundary travel, whether that the green lanes, regional bubbles, or specialized testing and quarantine measures. What's more, we are actively anticipating and working with partners for the lifting of travel restrictions around the world. We have taken a leading role in international organizations such as the WTTC to guide and push for the revitalization of our industry as well. Yeah, I think that could be something we share.
Okay, yeah, I think you touched on a couple of very important points here, and of course we have to remember, even so now we get all almost nostalgic about the good old times before the virus. We should not forget that not everything was perfect before. And Jason, so I think in Macau you had your fair share of over tourism, especially during the Golden Week holiday season, where you could hardly walk anymore in Macau because there were so many mainland visitors there at the same time.
That's
so
true.
from Jason, from the Global Tourism Economic Forum point of view, so quality and digitalization, what will happen and what should happen in the post-pandemic period?
As we have real experts here on this panel, the excellent panel, I will only share my shallow understanding. Tourism has been booming for decades. Before COVID, we already see 1.6 billion travelers are traveling across the borders. Now tourism is even become part of human rights. As we are traveling more, we're getting more experienced and smarter. And now we know what is excellent, what is good, what is not so good. So going for quality, I should say, is a natural choice. And the pursuit of the quality now are reinforced by digitalization. The tech companies, including all the OTAs here with us today, AirB&B, Trip.com, they allow us to compare destinations, services, and prices. We all know digitalization is not new. It has been in the center of innovation of tourism for a long time. But nowadays, it's hard to imagine to travel without these tech companies like Trip.com, Booking, Airbnb, and Uber. But we should say that the pandemic accelerated the digital process more than ever. China is the first country to recover. And we see so many social distancing, so many all sorts of hygiene requirements in China during last year and also the beginning of this year. So we also see the free bookings, the cashless transactions, no-touch ticketing, off-peak time traveling. They are all requesting an upgrade of tech support. Let's have Macau as maybe a simple case. Last year, streaming becoming a very important tool for Macau in terms of marketing. We invited a lot of Chinese celebrities to market Macau, including James Leong, the chairman of Trip.com. It's worth mentioning that our event last year, GTF, was a hybrid event for the first time ever. And for this event, we were able to get more than 400,000 participants online. So we see that innovation and digitalization is an inevitable force for the tourism sector.
Yes, okay, thank you very much. And of course, both of you mentioned live streaming, and so probably this is for all our participants listening in. So when you are asking what has been the biggest change in the marketing methods, so obviously in China, live streaming is a big thing now. And as Bowen mentioned, so even the big bosses of the companies personally get involved in that, and celebrities and so on. So that is certainly something for everybody. When we talk about digitalization, one part to look into in marketing to the Chinese market. So come on, for Airbnb, of course, you can only so much influence what the hosts are doing, because it is a host meeting the guests. But so what is your take on how is Airbnb trying to improve the quality of the experience for, especially for Chinese, or let's say East Asian, Southeast Asian visitors, so that they feel welcome and feel treated specifically as they would like to be treated, and how can digitalization help with that?
Well, you know, we're a digital platform, so people book online. So inherently, we are digital. And I think there is ongoing work, there's constant ongoing work to improve the booking process, to improve, and also to improve how you know, our app and our services can actually support the traveler when they're on the trip. So we're constantly working on that. And you know, in the I guess the rare occasion when they need to get in touch with us, you know, for support, how can we use digital technologies to improve the support that we provide to them? So all that work is always ongoing. And I think, you know, during the pandemic, we had to pivot when, you know, travel kind of stopped. So we pivoted hard, and, you know, we launched a new category called online experiences, where actually, you know, we have real life experiences where physically you can do something with the host. So during the pandemic, we launched online experiences, where actually we got our some of our existing hosts to really transform their existing experiences into an online environment. And that has worked really well, because suddenly instead of being capped at whatever 8 people on your physical tour or activity, you can actually open up to more people. You can actually do more slots. You can actually expose, and instead of just addressing the travelers in your market at the moment, you can actually expose your product, your virtual product, to the entire world, right? So a lot of people from the US doing online experiences in Portugal, hosted by someone in Portugal. Similarly, we had people in China doing online experiences as well. So it was just a really fascinating new way for people to connect with others. And they could learn new skills, and also it unlocked a new way for hosts to earn income while being at home, right? And in a sense, it also became a way for guests to virtually travel to destinations, which then does inspire future trips. But Prof, you also asked about quality, and I think when we talk about quality, I do want to speak a little bit about that, because when I think about quality, it is really about what are people looking for, and then what do they get, right? Is the experience that they're getting high quality? And taking the first, what are people looking for? Fundamentally, we believe that in the post-pandemic world, travel will there'll be a lot of things that will change about travel. But one of the key changes is that travel will be more meaningful. We absolutely believe that meaningful travel will replace mass tourism, right? Billions of people around the world have been isolated, they've been cooped up, they want to connect, and they want to do that by traveling. But in a sense, traditional mass travel is also another form of isolation. And so when people travel again, they will want to do it differently. And our own consumer surveys actually confirm that there is this pent-up demand for travel. People want to live home, they want to connect with people, whether it's in their own country or other countries. And when they do that, they will be looking for meaningful travel experiences. They want clean and safe places, very high quality, but they want those places to stay in those places to reconnect or stay connected with their loved ones. And our community is actually uniquely placed to do this, to address this need this need from the travelers, right? On Airbnb, it is really our hosts who enable our guests to feel this connection, right, to one another and to the communities that they visit and live in. And really, this magic that's being offered by our hosts is what makes Airbnb Airbnb. So when we talk about quality, and actually the broader question about development of better urban tourism that we're here to talk about on this panel, I really believe that hosting will play a big role. And that's why Airbnb is investing heavily to educate the world about hosting, to recruit more hosts, and to set them up for success. So some ways in which we've helped hosts be successful is, for example, in China, we've been empowering and helping our hosts to improve their services and enhance their listing quality. We've launched unique host education programs, such as something that we've called the Airbnb Host Academy. And over the last 3 years, the Airbnb Host Academy has launched 110 online courses and educational articles that have benefited over 30,000 hosts in China. And I think all these efforts really do bear fruit, even during the pandemic itself. We have been helping hosts navigate all their many short-term challenges while remaining confident about the long term. And what we've seen is that 90% of hosts are highly or very willing to keep hosting on Airbnb in 2021, and they plan to keep improving their listing quality and their operations and the experience that they provide to guests. And globally, we recently released data to show that new Airbnb hosts earned $1 billion during the pandemic. $1 billion during the pandemic for new hosts. And in the UK, the typical new host earned $2,300. In France, the typical new host earned $1,700. And in China, the top 5 Chinese cities where new hosts collectively earn the most were Beijing, Shanghai, Hangzhou, Chengdu, and Shenzhen. And all these are urban areas. So, I really believe that hosting and what our community brings to travel will really help to make urban tourism better in the post-pandemic era.
So thank you very much for that. I think this is a term, meaningful tourism, which I think we will hear more about in the future. And of course, this is exactly also from our own research results and also what we can see. And I think many people see that there is The pandemic, for many people in China and around the world, also has reminded us how fragile actually life is and our situation is, and how we should do more than just shallow experiences and go deeper. And of course, you also mentioned the word empowerment, and this is, I think, the key point also when we talk about quality. So we have online trainings where we try also to teach people what does it mean quality from a Chinese point of view, which might be quite different from what it is in your culture. And as I mentioned in our advantage tourism approach, this is exactly what we are telling people. Many international visitors, many Chinese visitors, they look forward to meet people locally. And I think also as more and more people speak English, and also we have a lot of technology, gadgets, automatic translation systems which help you across the language barrier, which in the past was a problem. Of course, you can only talk to people you can talk to, have a common language. That this is now getting better and better, and certainly that this is the idea of meaningful tourism, of people saying, okay, I want to learn more about the local culture, and you learn this through contacts with local people. And I'm sure that short-term rental like Airbnb can play a meaningful role in that. So Olivier, listen to all these deep insights from our colleagues in Asia. What can you add? And
yes.
I think you've got, okay.
Yes. Yeah, we've heard many very interesting things put on the table during this discussion. I'd like to react on a few things about travel being meaningful and the desire to travel. One of the things we've seen time and time again over these pandemics is that there is very strong pent-up demand. Okay, each time a travel corridor is put in place between two countries, we see searches soar, we see bookings soar. There is still a strong willingness to travel. And I think this is encouraging for all operators across the travel ecosystem. The other thing to keep in mind is that this very strange period we're going through is not like pushing the pause button. You know, it's not like everything has stopped for a while, and then when we've got vaccine, when we've got the right protocols in place, etc., we can push the play button again, and everything will go back to normal. No, it will be different because time has flown, because digitalization has made progress, because people have other expectations. They have other expectations in terms of experiences, the way the trip takes place, but also in terms of what they want to get out of this trip. And this is what Kum Hong was mentioning, you know, making travel meaningful. This is really what people are looking for. One of the segments that has been the most resilient over the past few months is visits to friends and relatives. That's the one reason why people still want to travel. They want to reconnect. They want to be close to their loved ones. They want meaning when they travel. I think the travel industry should provide them just that. So all these initiatives that you described, Kum Hong, I think are right on the spot. There's a risk to have a nostalgic approach. What you were mentioning, Wolfgang, and thinking that, well, what we want is just to go back to the good old days. There was never such a thing. You know, there were very serious problems of over-tourism, local populations perceiving tourism as a destructive force more and more often, rather than something constructive, bringing good to their communities. So sustainability has to remain key. It has to remain on top of the agenda for destinations, but also for operators in the travel sector. And I think that combining those different elements, giving meaning to travel, making sure that travel is a seamless and safe and exciting experience, making sure that local communities perceive the value of travel and that they're happy to welcome travelers coming from all over the world. I think all of this will help make this this world and our sector a better place.
Yes, yes.
Professor, actually,
Thank you very much. Yes, so we are obviously learning a lot in this session. So I think people will be able to take a lot home for that. So maybe for a final round, keeping in mind that probably most of the participants watching this session are based in Europe. So if you have to give them one good advice, one tip, how should they change their approach to the Chinese market and maybe also to the Singapore market, or and then of course including Hong Kong and Macau visitors? So if you have to give them one good advice, other than doing business with your company, obviously, so that is what would you tell, especially to let's say European destinations and service providers, what to do more or different from what they have been doing back in 2019? Bowen, we start again with you.
Well, the first thing coming to my mind is actually the publicity. I think because the media the press has always saying some to say that this destination is safety, or like that is not. So I think the press can be another affections to building the tourist the trust to travel to the destination. So that could be another way that to think about after this pandemic or the disease can be controlled, and we should find the better way to let the tourists to let the Chinese people know which place is safety, which place is I mean the truth of the things. And another thing is like I mean the digitalization, of course, can be another way to affect, and we could use all the tools the tourists can use, but still choosing a better way to go to the destination could be another smart decision to make if they want to travel there. So yeah, I think that could be something.
Okay, so you also mentioned price. So do you expect there will be a big discount battle that everybody will slash prices to get back into business? Is this what something you're expecting?
Yeah. I believe it must be. I mean, the old destination. I mean, not only Europe, as the Asia, of course, like the Japan, South Korea, Singapore. All this destination has tried to fight for the Chinese tourists to go there, and yeah, that could be something. Yeah, after I mean, even now, I know a lot of countries has to find a way to build their image to the Chinese people, even from the Weibo, from WeChat, all the social media, all these things.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Jason. What is your good advice?
I cannot say it is a good advice or not, but I'm thinking about marketing strategies for the Europeans or for the rest of the world in terms of Chinese outbound tourists. One thing I have in mind is the income of the Chinese. As we all know that the income of the Chinese is not very well distributed. There's a quite big gap between the rich and poor, and also there's a geographic differences. The East and the West are very different. The East has been traditionally very rich, but the West is catching up, especially when we say about the Greater Bay Area, where Hong Kong, Macau, Guangdong is, and this area is actually growing really huge right now into one of the future Greater Bay of the whole world. And actually, recently, the Chinese government have a lot of policies calling for the fairer distribution of wealth, and which we will see they were going to put into action in the next 5 years plan. And this is something we should take look at. What I'm trying to say is pay attention to different markets, especially some second-tier markets. I just read recently an article about there are now 23 Chinese cities, including Beijing, Shanghai, of course, but most of them are not the major cities. The income of the cities already exceed 1 trillion RMB. So 23 Chinese cities have the income over 1 trillion RMB this year. And I can see in the future of 5-10 years, this figure will be different. And we also see a growing Chinese middle class, especially now we already have 400 million of Chinese at the middle class. And in 5-10 years time, when China keep developing its economy, when China is trying to narrow the gaps of income, we see a much bigger middle class happening in China, which this middle class not coming from Beijing and Shanghai, we're more coming from the second-tier cities. So do not underestimate the second-tier cities. Some of the cities have even stronger desire to travel overseas. So this is some advice I want to provide to our audience.
Yes, no, I think that's a very important point. And of course, we're hopefully all aware of the fact that until now, 10 or maybe by now 12% of the Chinese have a passport. And it's not that they can't get a passport, that's quite easy. It's just that they don't have enough money to travel overseas until now. So there's no need for one. But as you have been saying, this number of people who can afford to travel will increase in the coming years for sure. And so therefore, you will have even stronger segmentation of those people who already have been traveling for years and are experienced travelers and will be not so much into sightseeing and shopping anymore, but rather in, as Kumon was saying, meeting people, talking to people, learning about local culture, following their special interests. But you will have, that will not mean, and this is often has been the discussion, the Chinese outbound tourists change from being package tourists, taking photos and rushing around. Now they are all becoming meaningful tourists. The fact, of course, is you have both. You will have the more and more sophisticated travelers, plus those people from second, third, maybe fourth tier cities, starting their learning curve of being an international visitor and still having to go through all these motions of looking at the Eiffel Tower. So first time. So this, I think, is a very important point you're making, that there is it is no longer just the people from the big cities, and they will behave differently, and you will have to have different marketing for repeat visitors and for first-time visitors. So I think this is quite an important point to keep in mind. So Kopong, you have millions of people in Airbnb listening to what you are teaching them in all your courses. So what are you telling them?
Well, I think for this particular audience watching this panel, instead of providing advice, maybe I'll provide some insights, and actually, we'll share some insights with all of you. And some of the takeaways are going to be obvious, and some of the opportunities are going to be less obvious. So firstly, we all know the pandemic has kind of changed everything. One of the most important changes, besides travel being more meaningful, is also that now people want to live anywhere. Right, the pandemic has changed how we work, live, and travel. And honestly, when you can work from home, actually you can work from any home. And so people now want to live anywhere, and this has kind of blurred the lines, right, between living and traveling. And we also see this trend amongst Chinese travelers as well, right? What we see, we obviously we do surveys, we collect data. What we've seen is that 76% of respondents in a recent survey have said they would consider escaping to the country, right? Going to rural areas, whether for short or longer trips. 71% would consider being snowbirds. So there's a seasonal opportunity here, right? Essentially, spending the winter months in a warmer place. And 64% would consider being digital nomads, right? Like I said, when you work from home, you can work from any home. And so, you can also combine business trips with leisure trips. And so there's a lot of opportunity here. And maybe I'll share some other insights that could also inspire our audience. You know, we know that our audience, the Chinese millennials, really miss international travel. Domestic travel has been recovering, but they really miss international travel. So we recently asked them, you know, to tell us about their plans when outbound travel returns. And what they told us is that, you know, the top 3 destinations, Japan, Singapore, Korea, not super surprising, but past outbound independent travelers, so the FIT group who've traveled overseas before, they also want to go to New Zealand. Actually, my Zoom background is actually from New Zealand. They want to go to Australia, and they also want to go to European destinations, such as the UK and Spain. So there's a real opportunity here with that segment. And you know, they are actually looking for natural scenery, urban sightseeing. So they still want to do that, to your point, Wolfgang. They still want to do that, and food. So those are the 3 things that they were most looking forward to. And you know, previous outbound travelers, of course, will be the first to book international trips. But to something that Olivia talked about earlier, about actually people want to travel to visit their loved ones and, you know, refresh those connections and all of that. Some, you know, just to end off with some really interesting insights related to that point, what we found were that couples and family with kids will be the 2 biggest customer segments. And you know, we do actually historically have a lot of solo travelers on Airbnb, and we had a finding that outbound travelers are now, compared to before, now more keen to travel with the significant other. So that was interesting, right? And I think that again just shows how much, you know, people in the post-pandemic world really do value connection and belonging, both, you know, when you travel to a place with the people in that place, but also your loved ones and the people whom you travel with.
Yes, okay, thank you very much. Yes, I think this is also, many other surveys show that the idea, the value of family and the value of your best friends, we have all learned that in times of need, it's important to have some people you can really rely on, and that this is certainly, I fully agree, that would be one of the changes. So Olivier, when you listen to the interest of nice, maybe new cities and good food, I'm sure you say the answer to this is Valencia.
Yes, for sure. For sure. That's Valencia. That's a lot of different European cities really offering that kind of experience. Building up on what Jason and Kum Hong said, I think basically my piece of advice to destinations would be to invest in knowledge, because as Jason mentioned, there are huge disparities within that enormous travel market, which is China. A geographical, socio-demographic. It's really important to be able to get your segmentation right, so that you can focus on those segments that match your products or the kind of people that you want to see walking around the streets of your cities. And in order to put the right marketing campaigns in place, develop the right kind of partnerships with travel operators and with airlines, you need to have the right data. You need to understand how people prepare their trip, how they book. There are different booking behaviors. And at the moment, we can see, for example, that for a domestic trip, the majority of Chinese visitors will book less than 4 days in advance. And for an international trip, the majority of them will book less than 14 days in advance. That means that this gives you very, very little time to get ready to welcome these visitors. So the need to anticipate is more important than ever. And luckily, we now have tools that enable us to do just that, to anticipate, which we didn't have in previous crises. And I think this is our key advantage. This is the key advantage of destinations and travel operators at the moment. We live in the age of big data. And this, I believe, is what is going to help us get out of this crisis much quicker than we've managed to get out of earlier crisis, but we really need to be able to seize these opportunities. There's no time anymore for gut feeling and marketing campaigns that are extremely broad in their reach and that try to attract a little bit to be appealing to everybody. No, I think right now it's really about delivering the right kind of message to the right audience at the right moment so that you can make a difference with your marketing money and with your messaging. So if you're a European destination and you want to build tourism back again, and you want to build it back better, then you really need to work much more smartly than ever before.
Yes.
So that would be my key advice: invest in knowledge. And once you've got this information, please do something with it. Don't just store it in your libraries or in your hard drive. Try to find a way to translate this data into very concrete, tangible actions that will make a difference.
Thank you very, very much. I'm afraid that's all we have time for, but I'm sure for every participant invested 1 hour in watching this session, and I think they got a lot out of it for the time they invested. And so in the end, it comes back to know your customer. You know your customer well. And it's not enough to say the Chinese outbound tourists anymore. There are market segments, and you have to know exactly what they want. You have to learn how to make them happy, and how to make find your kind of customers best fitting to your offer and your strategy, which is, well, not a very new point, but I think for the Chinese market and for other markets, as Olivier just said, we have better opportunities than before to get information, to get data, to understand what you should do, to learn, and to empower all service providers in doing the right thing. And I'm very happy that all of you have been optimistic in saying that we can come out of this stronger than before. And I hope that all of us next year can meet again in Berlin at ITB, not just on a Zoom call, but in reality, in real reality. And with that, thank you very much to all of you for sharing your insights with us. I think it has been really a very, very good session. And thanks for all the participants to listening to this. And of course, thank you to Messe Berlin and to WTCF to help us to have this session. So I hope that you had a successful ITB Berlin Now and continue to do so for the rest of the time. With that, thank you very much and goodbye.